Joined now on the IdahoSports.com prepcast by Nate Hartman, the new head coach at Middleton High School. Congratulations on the job. How excited are you to take over the boys basketball program at Middleton High?
I'm super excited. Really looking forward to it. My family and I are excited to get moved over, get engaged and involved in the community, and I can't wait. I'm looking at the schedule, looking for games. I'm excited for summer basketball. I'm excited for the tip off. I just got to look at the schedule, and I'm eager to get going.
So you are in Idaho Falls currently, where you coached the Idaho Falls High School boys basketball program. It was kind of a unique situation, though. Describe, if you can, for our viewers and our listeners, the situation with the Idaho Falls boys basketball program this past year.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was my third season at Idaho Falls High School, and my second season. Technically in February was when I was told by Coach Howard Hart that he was diagnosed with cancer, February of the 1920 season, but he was pretty sick all season long. So in my second season, I kind of took over, behind the scenes a little bit and ran things while Coach, kind of fought through cancer. And he did the best he could. He showed up to games and, he showed up to the practices when he could, to the state tournament that year and had a successful season, a 21 season. The next year, he went through cancer treatment, was set to come back. And then late October, he had another scan, found out the cancer was back. And so I knew it was a possibility that I could, kind of run it on an interim basis. I had that mindset, but then kind of shifted that mindset when he was, going to come back, and then had a quick flip that switch and get that mindset back to being the interim coach. So I found out in October. We had tryouts a couple weeks later in November, and we did the best we could. I was proud of the kids for dealing with COVID and a situation where their head coach needed to take some time for his health.
Yeah, Howard Hart, the coach at Idaho Falls High School. I asked you, we did one of your games for IdahoSports.com back in February, I think, and I asked you how Coach Hart was doing. Have you talked to him recently?
Yeah, he's doing well. He's home. He's done with the cancer treatment, with the stem cell treatment. He was in Salt Lake for a long period of time getting all that done. So I think he's doing well. I mean, his body's got to recover. He told me he's waiting to get the COVID vaccination before he can do a whole lot. But his plan is, and his doctor's plan is, that he'll be back teaching in the fall. He stepped down as the basketball coach, just, with all that's going on and his health being the main priority. But it looks like he'll be back in the classroom teaching, and he's doing pretty well. So I'm happy for him.
That is such great news to hear, and
Yeah.
our thoughts and go out to Howard and his family. So, okay, so Idaho Falls High School had an opening. Did they contact you about becoming the full-time actual varsity coach?
Lloyd, the athletic director, is, he's a great guy. He's a great leader. He's good to work with. I had applied to the Middleton job before I really knew what was going to go on at Idaho Falls High School. And it was a situation where I saw it a good fit and a good move for my family and I. So ultimately, we decided to go the Middleton route.
So how quickly did this thing come together with Middleton?
I got a call back in February asking, kind of gauging my interest in the job. And I actually submitted my application in February. So I waited about 2 months before I interviewed. So I interviewed last Thursday, and then interviewed in office, got to meet some kids, work with some kids on the floor. And then the following Monday, I got the call and was offered the job. I accepted it right away. We listed our house Friday, sold it Saturday, bought a house this last Tuesday, and we're just trying as quick as possible to get over there and get settled in.
Yeah, real estate market right now is wild. So I'm sure, you had no problem selling your house, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah. let's talk about it was kind of known for a while that the Middleton job was going to be open because Andy Harrington, who was the coach there, has taken a job at Owyhee High School, the new high school in West Ada. So did that help you knowing that this position was open? You said you applied all the way back in February.
Yeah, it was helpful. I mean, I didn't know, I knew why he was opening. When I got the call asking my interest, I didn't know that Andy was the one that had gotten the job. Um, Obviously, at that point, I did know, but Andy's a good friend, and that helped as well. I could have conversations with him about, the Middleton program and someone that I trust and respect. And obviously, they're coming off a state championship. And so my interest was piqued right away. It was something that I definitely wanted to do. We lived over in the area for a couple of years, so for a chance for us to get back, it was, a huge win. And I think the program's in a great place. Obviously, it's a state championship program. There's a great foundation laid. And I hope to, take some new things into the program and also continue to build up what's already there, and really build that sustainable success at Middleton High School.
We're talking to Nate Hartman, the new head boys basketball coach at Middleton High School. So you've spent the last 3 years in Idaho Falls. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where were you at before that? Where were you born and raised?
So I'm actually from Pocatello. I believe you're in Pocatello, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember having that conversation before the Skyline. I'm from Pocatello. I went to Highland High School, played for Chris Frost, and I actually got to play for Greg Evans as well. He was a longtime coach at Pocatello High School, legendary high school coach in Idaho, won the last state championship that Pocatello High School is. So he came over my senior year. So I got to play for what I would consider in Chris Frost and Greg Evans, two coaching legends in Idaho. Learned a ton from and knew, even as a senior that I wanted to coach. Had some opportunities to play in college, passed them up for a couple other things. I spent the 2015-16 season at Idaho Falls High School. I was the head freshman coach. Had a great team that year. It was actually the team that won state as seniors. I had them as freshmen. So a couple of them went up and played JV, but I got to coach that group. And then we moved. I finished a master's degree. We actually lived over in the Boise area. And then, those kids that I'd coached had a tough junior year. I was trying to get back. We had the goal with them as freshmen to win a state championship. I called Coach Hart, told him, hey, I can come back to Idaho Falls if there's a spot for me. And, he was gracious and willing to, have me right on the varsity staff. And we won the state championship that first year in the 18-19 season. Then a couple of players of basketball came back the next season. So my third season had another 21 season, another trip to state. And then this last year, my fourth year at Idaho Falls was my interim year. So 4 years at Idaho Falls High School. But I've had some great mentors along the way. Hall of Famer coach George Raveling has been somebody, that has been a mentor to me. He's, if you guys, anybody listening to this, if you haven't heard of, Coach Rav, I suggest looking him up. He's got Dr. King's original I Have a Dream speech. He was one of the security guards on stage with them, one of the first African-American coaches. I think it was the Pac-8 at the time. He spent some time at Iowa, USC, Washington State. So I've got to talk a lot of basketball with him and learn from him along the way. And also Phil Beckner, who is a player development coach in the NBA, kind of notorious for being a Lillard's trainer. I've got to, spend some time, around him and learning from him. He was at Boise State, so I got to go to a couple Boise State practices when we lived over there, and kind of learn from Phil. So I feel like I've had some really good mentors and really smart people, around the game of basketball, but also in life that I've been able to learn from. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, anytime you can get one-on-one time with Damian Lillard, you're probably going to pick up some things for sure. Talk about Coach Raveling. Where did you cross paths with him?
Yeah, so kind of a crazy story. So I was actually my grandparents live in Idaho Falls. I was a college student. We were over there for dinner. We were digging around in the basement. My brother was actually looking for Monopoly, and he pulls out this notebook. I had known who Coach was, and he pulls out this notebook in like mint pristine condition from his days at Washington State. It was called, it was Cougar Camp, and it was a note from one of my grandparents' kids had gone to this camp that Coach Rav put on at Washington State in Pullman, and they had this notebook just sitting downstairs. I mean, this was from late 70s, early 80s, I think, if I remember right. And it was awesome. You got these old graphics, and you've got him teaching the shooting motion, and there's this pointed elbow out, and it's walking through all these things. And I sent Coach Rav a message on Twitter, actually, with a picture of it. And I said, hey, look what I found. I don't know if you're interested in getting this, but I'd be willing to, send it your way. Cause I know that he collects things. He's got, Dr. King's speech, he's got all these cool documents, and he's kind of this, historian himself. And he messaged me back and said, absolutely. I would love that. And I said, under one condition, I said, can I please just have a conversation with you on the phone? Just pick your brain a little bit, ask you some questions. And he absolutely gave me his phone number. We talked a couple times on the phone through the years. And then in August of 2016, he invited me out to Los Angeles to his office out there. So I got to go spend about 2 hours with him. He gave me a couple books. And now to this day, we're kind of pen pals in the sense that we exchange books. We send books to each other every couple months. And, I keep in touch with him, ask him questions. I mean, he's mid 80s at this point. I hope at some point I can get back down to Los Angeles and see him. But, with COVID, it's been a little difficult. But, he's been somebody that's just really, really cool to learn from.
That's an awesome story. That's pretty incredible. What I really like about you, Nate, is you're like a sponge. You're always absorbing more information, and you're not set by these rigid guidelines of this is how I'm going to run my basketball team. You're open to experimenting with things. Is there a base though with your coaching style and philosophy? Is there a base that you work from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's so much information out there, and sometimes as basketball coaches, we want to take in everything, and we want to do everything, and we want to run everything. But there's really a couple areas. Offensive and defensively. I mean, under the surface, I do have some core principles and some core values when it comes to, on the offensive end and defensive end. And this is one thing that has always stuck with me, and it actually came from Coach, is to be great at the things that happen a lot on the basketball floor. There's a lot of things that happen often. For example, on the offensive end, screening, passing, cutting, shooting. Those things are happening often, not the 5 dribble combo moves, not the fadeaway jumpers. Those things show up on the highlights, but they're not the things that are happening a lot. And so I really want to focus on and be great at the things that happen a lot. I want to move the ball, move people, space the floor offensively. And ultimately, it's about creating advantages for your players. How many times can I get the defense to close out? I think if I can get them to close out more than once on an offensive possession, I think we'll win that possession. The thing about high school basketball, and I think what makes really great high school basketball coaches is you got to be able to adjust and tweak a little bit. Just, we're not recruiting players, right? We're not recruiting to a system. You play the hand you're dealt. So I have some motions that I like. I really like Jay Wright at Villanova. We had that conversation a couple months back, kind of about those Villanova fundamentals that I really try to focus on in our 4-out-1-in kind of motion action. Ball screens and post ups are a way to score out of that 4-out-1-in. But playing off of 2 feet, you watch Johnny Juzang in the NCAA tournament for UCLA. The majority of his finishes were off of 2 feet. And that's something that I believe in. I've been getting a touch, attacking the paint, getting a paint touch, and being shot ready. And then there's things that we'll tweak. So got a couple base motion, kind of read and react, teach kids how to play, teach them some fundamentals. And then I do like to run series at 1-4 high sets, a little bit of the 2-guard motion from John Beeline, a little Princeton inspired action. And again, it depends on some of the personnel you have. In a similar story, be great at the thing happen a lot in front of you. Jump to the basketball, route cutters, close out, box out, limit to one shot. And if my teams will play, if they'll play defense, if they'll get up and defend, then I'll give them more freedom on the offensive end. If we'll be tough and quick and talk and kind of dictate the tempo defensively, then I'll give them a little more freedom on the offensive end. So there are some base things. I do like to study things and share things, just because it's fun to connect with coaches and learn different things. But yeah, there's definitely a base in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Johnny Juzang at UCLA. I'm wearing my UCLA shirt.
Hey, yeah, yep.
Man, what a run they went on in the tournament, huh?
Yeah, it's all about the audience, right? I saw that. I thought you'd appreciate that. They did. I mean, they did what they were good at. And the interesting thing is, a lot of people thought that Gonzaga UCLA game was the best game of the tournament, which, I agree in the sense of both teams were playing their style of basketball, right? I mean, Mick Cronin plays a different style of basketball than Mark Few. And UCLA is walking the ball up the floor and using the shock and, running Juzang off those baseline down screens and running the high pick and roll. And they ran some stuff out of the horn set. And Gonzaga's getting the ball and pushing it up the floor with Suggs, right? He's extremely athletic. He's getting the ball up the floor. There's three that, Timmy, versatile and at the rim. So that game was fun to just see this clash of styles. And there's a lot of different ways to win. I mean, you look at Tony Bennett won at Virginia a couple years ago, running the mover blocker and playing the pack line. And Roy Williams, had a couple championships in Carolina playing, up and down transition basketball with some versatile bigs. So there's a lot of different ways to win. But one thing I appreciate about coaches, and one of the hardest things to do as a coach, just with all the information out there, is to what do you believe in? Dial that down, get your team to buy into that, and then execute that at a high level.
That's a great philosophy to have for sure. Real quick, I want to mention you were the interim coach this past year at Idaho Falls. So if I understand correctly, none of those wins and losses actually apply to your record career-wise, right? That's all Coach Hart.
Yeah, those go back to Coach Hart. He was the program director and the coach on record, so in all the programs it was listed as Coach Hart, and those were his wins and losses. So hopefully I didn't hurt his feelings by giving him a few extra some of those losses, but we won as many games as we could and did as good as we could. So yeah, I'm starting fresh, I guess. Starting fresh in Middleton High School.
That's right, 0-0, and that was the confusing part too, is because you have Hart and Hartman, and I'm like, is this the same guy, two different guys? What's going on here? So,
the funny thing is we went over to Thunder Ridge and Coach Tolson said, how's your dad doing? And I'm like, whoa, hold on, he's not. It's not my dad. It's not. I get it. It's Hartman. It's both HART. So I do think there was quite a bit of confusion there, but there was no relation. It just kind of came together that way.
What's got you most excited about going to Middleton and taking over there?
When I was kind of in the interview process, I just felt, talking with administration and talking about basketball and athletics in general, I just felt the work culture is thrown around a lot, kind of this climate and this desire to win, desire to get better. That athletics are student athletes, of course, but athletics play a huge part in that education of these young kids and these minds. And that just got me kind of pumped up and fired up to, you're going to have the support to get in there and get going. And also the group coming back. I mean, they won the state championship last year and they have some key pieces of that group coming back. And so that's fun to come back and put it together. The expectations are high, but I would have it no other way. We want those expectations. We'll embrace them. We'll get together as a team and set our individual goals and set our team goals and get things rolling. It's also nicer weather over there. So I'm excited to get back and hopefully, enjoy a little less wind and play a little bit more golf earlier in the season.
Yeah, over there in that Boise banana belt, it's going to be nice, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know how it goes.
For sure. Middleton, the defending 4A state champs in boys basketball. Tyler Medeiros, the only returning starter. He'll be a senior at center, but that bench crew was
Yeah,
mostly underclassmen. So you've got a good nucleus to build around. Nate
yeah,
Hartman, the new
exactly.
head boys. Yeah, exactly. The new head boys basketball coach at Middleton High School, Nate Hartman. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel like I could talk to you for like 3 hours about hoops. Like it's
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to catch up. I know we'll have to catch up another time. You get me talking hoops. It's the same thing. I could go on forever. My wife hears about it all day, so I'm sure she appreciates me spending some time talking to someone else about it as well. So we'll have to connect on the side and talk a little bit more. But I appreciate this. I appreciate your time, all your coverage, everything that you do, and fun getting to know you. And I look forward to kind of continuing this relationship.
That sounds great. Well, good luck with the move and good luck with the new job. And yeah, we'll be in touch, Nate. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good day.